Thank you very much, Patrick. So firstly, before I start with my closing thoughts, I just want to acknowledge it's great to see a room full of so many people. It's almost close to 6:30 in the evening, and clearly it's been a long day. I think these have really been really long sessions, but the fact that all of you have stayed here, all of you have stayed engaged, I think is already a great step forward. So just join me in giving yourself a big round of applause to have made this possible. As I was reflecting on the closing remarks, a few thoughts were coming to mind. And I think one that really stood out for me is that too often we think about how do we measure progress for civilizations? How do we measure progress for mankind? And I think for more than 2,000 years, going back to the time of Aristotle, which was almost 300 BC, there was a view that should you measure progress of civilizations primarily based on their economic development? So how should we measure our progress as human beings? Is it the wealth that we are accumulating? Is it the progress that we are making with regards to the GDPs and the economies that we are operating in? Or is there something different? Is it the light years that we are traveling to explore space? Aristotle had made this hypothesis, which I think is quite interesting for us to reflect on, that it's two different dimensions at the very least. We need to think about progress of any civilization. Firstly is the material life, which is the things that you have as human beings, things that you really require to sustain yourself. And then it is your moral life. The moral life talks about a number of different dimensions to it, and clearly core to that is happiness. But no single individual has control to that. So as I think about the closing today, I wonder, we have an opportunity to reflect. How are we progressing as a civilization? If you look up on the net, the definition of civilization is actually the most advanced form of human social development. And when we think about everything today that we've heard, there's a number of things that we can all engage and contribute. There are a lot of sobering facts that we heard today. So whether it is 20 million or whether it's 46 million, significant number of our co-human beings that inhabit this planet are facing extremely vulnerable situations. So is it not part of our progress to think about what role are we going to play to protect and to support those that are the most vulnerable in our society? And clearly we have a big opportunity to make an impact over there. We heard of a lot of other statistics also. Clearly two-thirds of those that are most vulnerable and are facing these challenges every day are based in this region. We also heard about how close to 1 billion people don't have any identity, and hence they are exposed to exploitation. They are exposed to getting enslaved. What was also very encouraging was to hear just about the progress that's being made by technology. And I think there's great examples, and three that really stuck a chord for me was the work that's happening through blockchain. Leanne talked about it, or the things around facial identification that Emily talked about, or digital identity as Bob shared with us. This particular summit started as a dream, and I think it was primarily a dream that Kimberly had, supported by a number of folks from Foundation and across Thomson Reuters. And I'm really pleased and proud of how much progress we've made in making this an agenda item at a national, international level, working with a number of partners. A lot of those partners are listed over here, and we are really proud at Thomson Reuters to be working hand in hand with our customers, regulators, law firms, financial institutions, and NGOs to take deliberate action to put an end to this trade. While it has been extremely profitable for a number of years, I think the time has come now for us to take that deliberate action and put an end to it. There's a number of folks who've actually put in a lot of effort in making this a reality. And in addition to everybody else, many folks have actually volunteered their time. So whether it's the ushers that were helping us at the check-in, or whether it was the folks who were running in to bring the mics to you, I'm really proud of how a number of our colleagues, there are 40,000 colleagues that we have globally at Thomson Reuters, and many, many people who are present over here have done this not because they were asked to, they've done this because they're passionate about who we are. Now that also distinguishes us as an organization, and hence it's not by any accident. We are consistently rated as one of the most admired companies on earth, but also one of the most respected companies. And for me, for those who care, if nothing else, if you want to develop a high-performing business, if you want to attract top talent, if you want to retain top talent, you've got to think about what is your cause, what kind of legacy you want to create, in addition to generating more revenue for your businesses, but also making the world a better place. I took away a lot of things. I think 4 that stuck with me was how this is not for just the NGOs to work on, and how each and every one of us, whatever be our trade, can contribute. So whether you are a marketer, whether you are a lawyer, whether you are a technologist, every one of us have skills that we can offer to help eliminate this particular exploitation. And there were great examples of that. A few that I think also stuck a chord for me is how can we educate and empower? We are all consumers of many of these things, whether it's in textiles or the food. And hence, if we became a bit more discerning, I think we will raise more eyebrows. We are going to challenge the status quo. There's also tremendous opportunity for technology to play a role. And we heard great examples of that. And lastly, I'll say is an opportunity for us to challenge why law cannot be evolved to be able to provide more power in the hands of those that are getting exploited and that the ones that are most vulnerable. So again, while this is the closing of this particular day of activities, this is definitely not the closing for our fight against human trafficking. And I look forward to working with all of you, and I'll strongly encourage you to look at this not as a close, but as a beginning of what all we can do to fight against human trafficking, what all we can do to put the civil back in our civilization. Thank you very much.